Okay.
Now,
Okay.
okay, madam.
System on.
A very good afternoon to you all. So today's session is on for the course
Yes. Yes.
MPCE-023, which is interventions in counseling. And the resource person for today's session is Professor Vimala ma'am. I'm sure you don't need any introduction. So all of you are familiar with ma'am. Ma'am, I think you can start the session now.
Okay. 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 Good afternoon to
Madam,
everybody.
you're not.
Is it audible? Is it audible?
Yes, yes,
No.
yes, ma'am.
Is it audible?
You are
Okay.
audible, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So good afternoon to all the students, and this paper is on interventions in counseling. This is the third paper of your counseling psychology, and this is the third paper of your counseling psychology. And first of all, you have to understand what interventions are. Then only you can be able to understand the entire paper. Here, the interventional actions. What are interventions? Interventions are the actions. We are using certain actions to change a situation for the improvement or preventing it from becoming worse. So these are the activities what we will take up for changing for modifying the behavior of people. So these activities are called as interventions. This is a very common term which is used in psychology. Interventions. So interventional research is very important nowadays. So let us talk about what interventions are. Interventions are any planned actions which modify the behavior of the client for betterment or for improving himself or come out of their problems or getting better. So these are called as interventions. You might have understood that in psychology there are different approaches. Each approach has used the different interventions in counseling activities. So you might be understanding what exactly psychology is first, so counseling is first, and then you have to understand the basic points about counseling. You might be knowing about that, but still let us have a recap of what exactly counseling is. So counseling is an activity, it is a helping service to bring about modifications in the behavior of the client. So for that, the steps are very common. All the 5 steps are very common, whatever the intervention you are using or whatever the psychological theoretical approach you are using. Coming to the first thing, you might be knowing about this, you have to build up rapport with the client. This is very important thing. The success of our counseling is mostly determined how you make your rapport. So how do you make rapport? In the rapport building, what you have to make them, you have to make the individual to make in a relaxed condition. Unless the client is relaxed, he cannot think properly about his challenge. So for that, you have to make them comfortable, make a confidential rapport with the client. For that, you can do some of the activities. Usually, I am telling you some of the tips you can make for rapport building. The first tip what you have to make is, you will ask, already you have taken the case history of the client. After that, for rapport building, you have to, some of the basic interventions, I don't say basic activities or basic questions what you have to ask to build a strong rapport with the client. If you are some of the interests of the client, what are your interests? Don't go directly into the problem. If you attack the problem, then there will be a lot of agony or mental status will be disturbed. So make him comfortable and relaxed state. You have to ask him about the positive aspect of his life. That is about his interest. This is the first time. When they say I don't have any interest, then ask them some of the activities where he was appreciated he was appreciated by any of the members of the family or the teachers since his childhood. So ask him to think again and again and find out and recollect one of the events where he was being appreciated and he did the activity successfully or achieved some prizes or whatever is that, some awards or recognitions in his life. So after that, ask him what are his hobbies, what are his interests and hobbies. So this also make him to think about his hobbies and things. And here the counselor also can make a disclosure about himself. Whatever he says, suppose I am interested in cricket, then the counselor can also say that I am also interested in cricket. So this makes the client and the counselor together. More, rapport building will become more strong. Then you can ask them some of the things so that you will develop confidentiality. That is a natural thing. You will do that, and after that, sometimes the counselor has to disclose his credentials so that client will have some confidence on the client on the counselor. He is a person who can solve his problems like that, who can make them in a relaxed state, talking about his interests or hobbies and whatever he enjoys. So, and his successes. Success is a big motivator. So, ask him some of the successful events he has in his life. This is the counseling, basic counseling, rapport building. After rapport building, you will ask about his, inquire about question, which he makes the client to describe his problem, having more insight about the problem. More insight. If the individual has more insight while describing the problem, he will come out of with some of the solutions by himself. As you know, the counseling is making helping the client to introspect himself and come out with his own solutions. Hence, this helps you to make that. So that is the third step you have to make, describe the problem. After that, goal setting is important. Ask client to the goals. This is the fourth step. Why I am telling about the counseling is so that even where the interventions can be you can fit the intervention. That's why I am telling you all the details of this counseling activity. So after knowing about his, after the client describes his problem, హలో హలో
మేడం వినిపిస్తుంది.
వినిపిస్తుంది. అక్కడ నెట్ పోయిందని మళ్ళీ.
అదే అదే ఓకే ఓకే
ఓకే ఓకే నౌ ఐ గాట్ ఇట్.
ఓకే మేడం.
So in this connection, the interventions are used in that stage in action planning for reaching the goals. This is the fourth step in counseling. So setting the goals and reaching the goals. For reaching the goal, they have to do certain action plan. So in this action plan, we use interventions. To make the client to reach their goals. So in this scenario, now there are different interventions are designed by different approaches. That means psychoanalytical approach, behavioristic approach. Each has designed their own interventions for reaching the goals. Let us start with the earliest thing, that is the psychoanalytical approach. So I think you must be clear about what intervention is. So intervention is an action used. Intervention is an action or activity used to change a situation, to modify the behavior, or to prevent from getting worse or bring about an improvement. So for all this, you will use certain actions based on certain theoretical aspects. These things are called as interventions. So what are the interventions in counseling means? They are based on different psychological approaches. Psychoanalytical approach is there and interpersonal counseling approach is there. But for different purposes, we use different types of interventions. Let us discuss some of the interventions which are being used in uh, counseling. So let us start with the psychoanalytical approach. Most of you know about psychoanalytical approach by this time. It is being proposed by Freud, and his main contributions were for the development of personality, id, ego and superego he described. And there are three levels of consciousness he has designed: conscious, unconscious and subconscious, and he has forced more on unconscious motives. Unconscious. And he also developed psychosexual development, defense mechanisms. All these are the basic approaches of psychoanalysis. The counseling but through psychoanalysis is a long process because we have to so as per psychoanalysis, for our behavioral disorders, a conflict between id and ego, or overuse of defense mechanisms, or our unconscious motives are the main responsible factors for our or a deviant for our disturbed behaviors. So for that, what he said is, so suppose in psychoanalysis, they will try to bring about what is there in our unconscious, which most of the individual, which nobody knows about what is there, which is being in a unconscious level. By using certain methods, they try to bring their unconscious, bring to the conscious level, and then based on that they use different interventions in counseling. So that is psychoanalysis. So in Freud, psychoanalysis is a long counseling procedure. Freud himself has designed a psychodynamics. Psychodynamics is the Freud's original concept. Psychodynamics. Psychodynamics means, as per Freud, there is a psychic energy. Every individual is having psychic energy, and that psychic energy is called as libido. That psychic energy is called as libido. Means that transformation or exchange of psychic energy within the personality is psychodynamics. Means psychodynamics, which is the concept of Freud, which means that the transformation and change of psychic energy within the individual. Hence, these are responsible. These are responsible for some of our problem. He has given some of the concepts. He said, the human behavior and relationships are shaped by our conscious and unconscious influences. So this is the reason why you are like this, why your behavior has become like this is because of his conscious and unconscious influences. By your conscious as well as unconscious influences. Your unconscious is very important. As per Freud, what is there in our unconscious is our unconscious consists of our most painful experiences. Our unconscious consists of our thoughts related to sex and aggression, which are not being accepted by the society. And most our painful experiences, all this will be there in our unconscious behavior, and they are responsible for our either for anxieties or for depression or whatever is that, which we may not be knowing that. So our conscious as well as unconscious influences shape our behavior. A person is always sad. Why? Low mood, with low mood. The reason may be conscious or unconscious. So, like that, this is the one concept which was developed by psychodynamic theories. One is so then the second concept by psychodynamics is psychodynamic counseling places more focus on past experiences in the development of current behavior. Your past experience, knowing our past is more important for counseling the present behaviors. So this is the basic concept of psychodynamics. Is as per Freud's theory, every experience is registered in our conscious, in our brain, in our mind. Hence, for our present behaviors, the past experiences are basically important. So in all counseling places more focus on our past experiences in the development of current behavior. So they used to ask about what happened earlier, what are the situations which he experienced earlier. These are the questions we ask to find about the reasons in their past experiences. So this is the concept of psychodynamics. Two things. One is this is as our behavior is shaped by our conscious means present situation, and as well as unconscious situation are responsible for our behavior, number one. And he has given lot of focus on our past experiences. These are the two concepts basically which are used for counseling. For that, they developed an intervention. What is the intervention is the intervention is insight, bringing insight of the client as a counseling method. They used insight as a counseling method. So, insight means the client has to develop his insight, means self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-knowledge, and uh, understanding the reasons for his motives, for his behaviors. He has to understand through insight. Insight is the intervention. Through insight, he has to understand his motives, behaviors, and he should also be able to recognize what are his inappropriate behaviors and what are his irrational behaviors. The individual himself will recognize through this insight technique. So we use certain questions to bring his insight out. These are the interventions we make in psychodynamic approach. So interventions is here insight. Insight means self-knowledge. Insight means understanding. The client has to understand his own motives for his behavior, and also he should recognize his irrationality. Why I am behaving in such an irrational manner, and why I am behaving in an inappropriate way. The client himself will know. As you might be knowing, the counseling is It is a helping service to make the client to understand himself, and come out with some solutions to his challenges by himself. So this in psychoanalytic approach, the intervention is the insight is the intervention. So this is about the intervention about, so different counseling different approaches use different interventions. This is insight method is one intervention. Coming to the short-term counseling methods, they also developed certain, because the Freud's method is too long sessions. So many sessions are required for bringing the insight out. So they have used certain psychodynamic counseling techniques, which are very short-term counseling. So they used 6 to 7 sessions. First 2 sessions they use it for assessment. So quickly identifying the problem, and mutual goal setting, and quickly identifying the problem, and then making an appropriate referrals, and we develop confidentiality and all the things. In the short method, first 2 sessions we use it for assessment. That means the first three steps are being used for assessment. The fourth step is third and fourth sessions. 2 sessions for assessment, 2 sessions for developing insight regarding his behavior. That takes 2 more sessions, third and fourth sessions for developing insights, and again fifth and sixth session for termination. So these are called as brief therapies. Directly we go into the problem, we will find out in 2 sessions only. We don't drag on, we will ask direct questions. So these are in the second stage is the intervention stage. In third and fourth sections, we develop insights about in the client, and fifth and sixth session we terminate it. So this is a very important session. This is about psychoanalysis. Then this is interventions in psychoanalytical theory and psychodynamic theory. So the basic intervention is insight. Insight is the basic intervention, and we can use short brief sessions too for this, identifying the intervention and helping the client to come out of that. So we will plan an action plan for that. Then coming to the interpersonal counseling, interpersonal counseling and interpersonal therapy. Interpersonal counseling, and this is another method. Interventions where we use different interventions. So in interpersonal counseling, here mainly this focuses, the interventions here are developing interpersonal skills. These are the interventions we use. And adapting to the present interpersonal roles. And thirdly, interpersonal situations, present situations, and the current relationship. These are the important interventions we use to bring about changes. Developing interpersonal skills. You have to develop interpersonal skills. And secondly, we have to find current interpersonal roles. Suppose the role change. What are the roles? Because I am not able to play the role, interpersonal role here, it creates so many adjustment problems, which needs counseling. So I am not able to play the role of a spouse. I am not able to play the role of effectively the role of I can say this a leadership role, or a spouse role. If I am not able to play the role properly, it creates, not able to adapt to the role, it creates problems. And sometimes the situations are also important. If we are not able to uh, adapt ourselves to the situation, then also it creates problems. And there is also current relationships are very important. what are the relationship at present we are having, what are the interventions you have to use to bring about changes for the better adaptation in the particular situation. So here the main goal of this interpersonal counseling is reduction and improved of we have to improve our social adjustments, improve our social adjustment to the roles as well as to the situations. We have to improve our adjustments. So this interpersonal counseling is basically made to adapt to the situations, to adapt to the roles, and to so for that what you have to do is develop the interpersonal skills, develop the interpersonal skills. So here we will just like any other counseling procedure. I told you in the beginning, you have to develop rapport, and then the second step is for interpersonal counseling. We have to rule out their physical illness also. If they are the physical illness, may be the reason for the. So when you have to rule out the physical illnesses and the uh, and you will find out whether the person is having any psychological diagnosis, psychotic diagnosis, psychiatric diagnosis. Psychiatric diagnosis may be the reason for the maladjustment of the individual. Or the then the next step is you have to understand the current interpersonal and social situations. And then the next step is we have to identify the current stressors. What are the stressors in your adaptation? So suppose if you are having, so what are the current stressors? What are the current stressors you are undergoing? So, so that in this particular, in your roles, as a, for example, in the, what I can say that in the role of a leader, what are the stressors you are undergoing at present? And what are the social situations you are facing? So these are the explore the current interpersonal and social stressors, present stressors. What are the stressors? And help the person in interpersonal counseling. We will help the person to deal with the stressors more positively. For that, we use different techniques. So these are basically used in our counseling. Basically used in our counseling. In interpersonal counseling, the skill development is very important. What are the skills which are needed for effective interpersonal, for good interpersonal relationship? Number one, communication skills. Hence, the intervention program is designed to develop communication skills to the person. These are must. So without communication skills, you cannot develop interpersonal relationship. So if you don't have proper communication skills, then you may develop some of the issues, some of the problems, challenges there. So developing communication skills, then assertiveness training is also very important. You might be knowing there are three types of people you will come across. There are submissive people. What in interpersonal relations, whatever you say, the other person will accept and do whatever the other person demands or needs. This personality is called as submissiveness. We don't argue or we don't do anything. Whatever the other person says, just they accept and do. This behavior is called as submissive behavior. There are other type of people who are very aggressive. They demand people and they want to get their things done, even taking the rights of other person. They are called as aggressive people. The aggressive people develop certain problems and uh, some challenges, and also the submissive people face some challenges. The third type of people are assertive people. Assertiveness skills, these are very much required when in interpersonal relations, the intervention should be communication skills, it is must. And the second thing is assertiveness skills.
being assertive means you should be able, you should accept you should give some. So you have give and take behaviors in interpersonal relations. Enhances, not take and give. Give and take behaviors. Will help some other person and take help from others. This is an assertive personality. I will help others and I will take help from others. Some people used to say, I don't take help from anybody. No, this is not assertiveness. Assertiveness is, I will extend help to others and I will take help from others also. If the other person has any unreasonable demand on me, I say politely, I can say no to that unreasonable demands of other persons. This is assertiveness behavior. So these are the skills required for being assertive. Being assertive is not submissive, not aggressive, but we are free to express our uh, no to the unreasonable demands, and at the same time you should extend help to others, and also you will take help from others. Extending help, giving help and taking help will enhance our interpersonal relations. Then next thing is another intervention which is used in interpersonal relations is conflict resolution training. So social skill training is a very important thing in interpersonal relations problems. So in the interpersonal relationship counseling means maybe the family members, maybe the friends, maybe the social situation, maybe the couple, whatever is that interpersonal relationships. Conflict resolution is very important. So you will train them as an intervention. We use conflict resolution and help them to train them. So there are different conflict resolution techniques and we will aware them about the different techniques and make them to follow. So win-win situation, you might be knowing that win-lose situation or lose-lose situation, whatever is this compromising, all these are some of the conflict resolution techniques. Among them, most of the time, the win-win situation is being prescribed for many of the counseling situations, so that the interpersonal relations will sustain and they will achieve, the conflict will be resolved. And then anger management skills. For this, journaling is being used. Journaling as a intervention is being used for anger management techniques. So these are the skills required for interpersonal therapy counselor, and these are the interventions used by interpersonal counselor or interpersonal therapist. So these are what are the interventions they use? Interpersonal counseling. The interventions are number 1, communication skills. Number 2, assertiveness training. Number 3, conflict resolution techniques. And number 4, anger management. These are the common techniques, common things used as interventions. So they also use some other techniques. One is psychoeducation is one of the techniques we use in interpersonal counseling. Psychoeducation means you will educate psychoeducation. And sometimes we use behavioral therapy also as an intervention. So these are also some of the interventions. Psychoeducation, behavior therapy, and some of the times cognitive therapies, and some of the therapies we use. Generally, what are the problems you will come across for interpersonal therapy? What type of problems you will get? So these are the interventions we use. Okay. Then what are what type of problems you will come across in interpersonal counseling? Usually, there is a unresolved grief. The client is very sad and he doesn't know how to resolve his grief. Unresolved grief and role disputes. Most of the couple counseling you will get role disputes and role transition a girl changing his role as a wife and girl changing as a role from wife to mother. All these are the role transitions. People will come across with a lot of stress and challenges. So role transitions and interpersonal deficits. Interpersonal deficits. These are the main things in interpersonal therapy or counseling. So you understood about the interpersonal counseling. I will just conclude this interpersonal counseling by saying that interpersonal counseling is required. Most of the cases are in interpersonal counseling only. You will get many cases. In all these cases, the reasons are role disputes. The individual is not able to adapt to the new situations. Yeah, sometimes role transitions occur, sometimes new situations and interpersonal deficits. I don't have communication. These are the main reasons for developing interpersonal conflicts. So, in interpersonal conflict, you will just follow the counseling procedure. You follow the counseling procedure, and while using the interpersonal interventions, you use communication skills, social skill training like communication skills, assertiveness skills, or conflict resolution or anger management. All these skills we use as interventions, and also sometimes we use psychoeducation, behavioral therapies, cognitive therapies, and psychotherapies for these things. So this is about interpersonal counseling. So mainly what are the interventions is communication skills, assertiveness, conflict, psychoeducation. All these are the interventions which are used in interpersonal counseling and interpersonal therapy. So one we have completed in psychoanalytical, we go inside as an intervention. Here we are using all these as intervention techniques. Coming to the third, what are the interventions we use while doing counseling of children? Counseling children. Usually, children, you will get so many disorders of children and they used to bring for counseling. Learning disabilities, you will find learning disabilities. Then ADHD is another, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ADHD and people used to have anxiety disorders in children or more, and these are the children disorders you will come across. Autism as one of the disorder, and there are developmental disorders, tics like that. So many children developmental disorders will be there. So most of the time for the children's developmental disorders, the intervention is planned as play therapy, through play, because that is the most important activity which they will enjoy. You go by play therapy. You go by play therapy. Then coming to the play therapy, and for adolescents also there are helping them in self-awareness. Adolescents also, counseling adolescents, we use will make them, helping them in self-awareness and self-efficacy, to improve their self-efficacy. Means being confident about their abilities is called as self-efficacy, and to come out from self-defeating behaviors. Most of the adolescents used to exhibit self-defeating behaviors. So adolescents, so these are the common problems we will come across, and for adolescent we make them to understand through self-awareness. We use self-awareness as an intervention, whereas for all children problems, children disorders, problems, you can't say that, children disorders, we use play therapy, through play, through game, through play they can come out of there, because that is the most exciting activity which they will enjoy, So this is counseling of children. Then comes to the uh, behavioristic techniques. We are coming up to behavioristic techniques. Behavior, so as on any counseling, behavior modification is the goal of our counseling. Behavior modification is the goal of our counseling. So, here, as we all of us know, that the behavioristic theory, so the behavioristic theory, uh, so the behavioristic theory presents that um, so the behavioristic theory presents that there are uh, basic concept of behavioristic theory is everything is learned except the instincts. So the problems individuals face is because of their lack of learning, or they have not learned the things which are required for life. That's why they are facing some problems, and they are learned the things, but in a they have not in a proper way. That is also creating problems. So behavior modification is through skill learning. Behavioristic skill learning is the basic intervention which is being used in behavioristic modification, behavioristic psychologist modifications. So here, as you know, behavioristic approach basic concept is everything is learned, and the learning process goes from birth to death. Hence, why you are getting problems and why you are going for counseling is there are one reason is because you have not learned the things which are required for life. That's why you are getting problems. Second, yes, you are getting problems because you have learned, but not in a proper way. That is also creating problems. Hence, behavioristic uh, interventions are based on two concepts. One is classical conditioning, second one is apparent conditioning. So based on that, mostly apparent conditioning only, for that giving positive reinforcement. We use the techniques of positive reinforcement as an incentive. So whatever they did in a right way, the incentive should be positive. Positive incentive should be given for promoting that behavior, positive behaviors, and negative punishment should be given to remove the particular behavior. And then systematic desensitization. So wherever for phobias and other things, you have to use the systematic desensitization as an intervention. And then aversive conditioning is also aversive conditioning, means where we use punishment as a punishment for negative behaviors. Hence, they don't do it again. Since we are modifying the negative behaviors by giving aversive conditioning, and also token economy is the another method which is being used by behavioristic psychologists, behavioristic approach. In behavioristic counseling approach, we use most commonly used thing is the behavioristic approach. In this behavioristic approach, we use in the behavioristic approach, what we use is it is totally focused on learning processes. One is first intervention is learning skills, teaching learning. Learning is the best important thing. Whatever they have not learned. So life skill training they do. Communication training they will do. So because the communication is the problem for their behavioral problems, communication, or they develop. So these are the interventions we use: desensitization, positive reinforcement, aversive condition, token economy. All these are the technique, are the intervention programs which are designed by behavioristic psychologists. These we have studied all these things earlier in the earlier things, and you have to use this for behavior modification. These as interventions. Interventions means which comes at the fourth stage of counseling, not in the beginning itself. Rapport building is there, problem identification is there, problem description is there, goal setting is there. While making an action plan for reaching the goals, you have to use these interventions. You have to use these interventions. Okay. Then coming to the cognitive psychology. Cognitive approaches. You might be knowing about what cognitive approaches are. Cognition means cognition means it is higher mental. This is a cognitive approach focused on higher mental abilities, not like behavioristic conditioning. They focused on higher mental abilities and they identified 4 higher mental abilities. So you have studied in cognitive psychology. One is perception, higher mental ability, learning and memory as the second higher mental ability, intelligence, brain as a hardware, intelligence is the third higher mental ability, and fourth one is our thinking. All these are the 4 mental abilities. Together, we call them as higher mental abilities, and this cognitive approach focuses on these 4. So, in counseling, what do? We use intervention based on these 4 approaches. Based on these 4 approaches, we use interventions. So, thinking is part of cognition. Usually, the thought is responsible for our behavior. The core of our behavior is our thinking process. So, what are the things which are responsible is our irrational thinking style. Our irrational thinking style is responsible for our present problem. Then what you have to do? You have to make an intervention to bring about realistic thought. Irrational thinking styles of people, overgeneralization. We will do overgeneralization, and sometimes we use a lot of mental filters while thinking, mental filters, and always we are having an attitude of disqualifying the positivity, always thinking about negativity only. We don't think about the positivity and jump into conclusions. By looking at one sentence, we jump into conclusion based on that. So many interpersonal problems occurs because of this jumping to conclusion by just observing one event or one situation. So, jumping to conclusions and magnification and magnifying the event which occurred, and sometimes we minimize the event which occurred. Suppose people used to develop, if somebody says something against one person, he used to magnify it, make it to the big issue, and he will lose his mental peace, and he will develop certain mental imbalance. And then for counseling, what you have to do is you have to make them understand his maximization, and some people minimize it. Whatever happened, they don't bother, minimize the things. And some people reason with the emotional reasoning. So all these are the defects of our thinking. Emotional reasoning, with a lot of emotion we reason out. Emotional reasoning is never will come, accuracy will be less in emotional reasoning. The reasoning should be objective reasoning, you have to learn. And some people used to say always must and should. I should do this, I must do this. The must and should statements of the individuals make them more problematic for them itself. The problem is for them itself, the people around them. That is and labeling other person, mislabeling. All these are the errors in our thinking process. Errors in our thinking process. All these errors in our thinking process made us, all these errors in our thinking process made us to develop inappropriate behaviors and illogical reasonings. So I will again read out irrational thinking styles. We are not rational. And then overgeneralization, mental filters. We don't think all the aspects. We filter some of the things. We focus on only few aspects, and we will feel agony or depression, sad or aggressive. We will become based on these mental filters, and disqualifying the positive, jumping to conclusions, magnification, minimization, emotional reasoning, must and should statements we will make, and labeling and mislabeling. All these are the reasons, errors in our thinking. These are, remember it, them as errors in our thinking. They are responsible for our behaviors, for our behavioral problems. They are responsible for our behavioral problems. So what are the techniques you have to use is reality test. We have to do validity. You have to, as intervention, you have to do supportive evidence and validity testing and guided discovery, asking series of questions to make them to realize the fact. Asking series of questions. So writing a journal, this is very, very useful for this irrational thinking or for managing this. Writing a journal, what happened from morning to evening, what are the events happened, what are his conclusion based on that. So that if you write journaling and you look them, and if you analyze these journal aspects, then you will be able to find out the reasons. Here the counselor helps, and we will give homeworks also in this cognitive therapies. All these are cognitive therapies, and REBT, rational emotive therapy. All these are being used as interventions for thinking errors, for thinking problems related to thinking, that is cognitive problems. And sometimes we use CBT also, cognitive behavioral therapies. So usually we use it in cognitive behavioral therapy used in educational setting, in clinical settings, and personal and social situations. Also, we can use the cognitive behavioral therapies. So, cognitive behavioral therapy. We are using some of the interventions of cognitive therapy, and also behavioristic therapy too. Combined together, we are using cognitive behavioral therapy. Among the many cognitive behavioral therapies, there are some interventions which are being used very usually these are the interventions which are being used. First thing is self-instructional technique. This is a simple technique. Self-instructional technique where what do? They use healthy self-talk, not overgeneralization, not undergeneralization, not labeling, not filtering. Healthy self-talk. Healthy self-talk. They promote healthy self-talk by asking again the appropriate questions. This is the intervention. My goal is to develop healthy self-talk. This as a intervention I am using it. Second thing is stress inoculation techniques. So just like a vaccination which inoculates the dead body of that, here also stress inoculation technique. People are given training. People are kept in a simulated stressful situations, and in this training helps us to face the stressors, to help the persons against the stressors. We will get training about how to, this is called a stress inoculation service. In this, stressors are in this state, stressors are being identified, and skill acquisition for managing the stressors, and apply it and follow through. This is the technique in stress inoculation technique. This is an intervention. Stress inoculation technique is an intervention. We used to bring the people from the stressful situations through, this is a cognitive technique. This is a cognitive behavioristic technique. We put them in a stressful situation. We put them in a stressful situation. This is an imagined or a simulated artificial situation, and we'll make them to address those stressors, to work against those stressors. And so that this is the training we will give, and so that they can come out of this stressful situation. This is stress inoculation technique is being used as one of the intervention. The next intervention is self-management techniques. We go for self-management techniques. Here, um, here we are getting problems because of behavioral deficiencies. We are getting some problems because I don't know. Deficiency means I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to take decisions. I don't know how to how to solve my problem. These are the behavioral deficiencies, or sometimes behavioral excess behaviors. Excess behaviors both creates lot of problems to the individual. So you have to learn self management. Overreacting to situations is excess behavior. So for that I have given training on self management behavioral technique. So here environmental and behavioral traits you will get. Sometimes increased social support. Increased social support creates lot of problems. So I cannot do anything myself because I am having increased social support. All the time somebody is protecting me. So when there is a situation where I have to act myself, I cannot do that. I cannot do that situation. Hence, increased self-management techniques. There are so many things for that. Many cognitive strategies are being used to bring about modifications in the behavior technique. So where we will teach them problem solving techniques. We will teach them decision making techniques. We will teach them the realistic thinking patterns. So all these are the interventions we use to bring about changes in their thinking process. Thinking process is mainly, their own thinking process is mainly responsible for their behavior. But thinking process is mainly responsible for their behavior. So these are the self-management techniques, cognitive behavioral modification techniques. So then we'll go to the next thing is about, there are also some behavioristic technique like solution focused therapies. So these are repetition. I think most of you have studied in earlier also. This is again the solution focused therapies. So here we don't think about neither the past of the things. In psychoanalysis, we think about the past is responsible for our behavior. But here, we don't go into the past. We will directly emphasize on the solution rather than on problem. We don't focus on problem. We are focusing what do you want. Our focus is on the present and future, not on the past. This is solution focused therapy. In solution focused therapy, our focus is on the present and future. And so we will ask them, we will support them to explore their preferred future. What do you want to become? What do you want to do? How you want to live? That is their preferred future. So we will support them to explore their support future, and for that so here we will ask that the procedure is how to envisage the support future. So here this is the simple techniques which is being very much used and very effective. This is called as miracle questioning. Miracle questioning. So here the intervention is questioning. The client has to envision the future life. The client has to envision the future life. Now I am a student. What would be my future? I have to envision my future life. When the problem is not there. I don't have any problem about the future. Now I cannot see. Because there is no problem, the first step is the client is asked to envision the future life when there is no problem. Then establish positive goals. And this is one thing. And after that, they are asked to bring about internal strengths. What are your internal strengths? What are your resources? And what are your external supporters? So these are the things you have to think about. You want to, this is focused on your solution. Suppose I am having a problem, I need, this is the solution. So emphasize the solution. I want a place. I want a place. Uh, I want a peaceful family. This is my solution. I want to have a conflict, a family with reduced conflicts. For that, the client is asked to emphasize the family in future with less conflicts. We don't say no conflicts, nothing will happen. With less conflicts. Emphasize that. There is no problem, but you are emphasizing it with less conflict. Then establish a positive goal. Yes, this is the thing which I wanted. Then what are the strengths I am having to get that? What are the strengths? How can I reach that goal? So family with less problems. What are my strengths? Yes, my good communication system, my empathy towards others, my understanding of other people, that is empathy, and my emotional status. These are my strengths. What are the resources available, external resources, and understanding family members? Or what are the supporters from external world as well as in the family world? You have to think about that. So you are going, then you will suggest in this is a solution focused therapy. So we will give, this is the way you can uh, take the intervention from this approach. This is an approach. You can take an intervention by emphasizing the present and the future, not on the past. So this is very popular nowadays and people are going for that. So what do you want? How do you get it? What are the strengths you are having? What are the support you are having? Financial support, human support, what support you are having, and you add to that and you will do that. So establishing positive goals. So this is about supportive therapy as a intervention. So all these I think you have already read, but this is a revision in the name of intervention counseling. Then coming to the integrative counseling. Integrative counseling means we are having so many counseling techniques. You have studied at present about some of the counseling techniques as psychoanalytical, going into the inside, and brief counseling techniques, and interpersonal counseling, counseling children, and behavioristic therapies, cognitive therapies, solution focused therapies, all this you have studied. So, what you will do is you will integrate them. And depending upon the client, depending upon the situation, you can integrate all this. You need not go for only behavioral therapy or cognitive therapy. You can mix them and you can use them. You can use the relaxation techniques. You can use the insight techniques, self-awareness, and then you can go for behavioristic techniques. So all this you can integrate, but you should have all this in your mind so that you integrate all this, and depending upon the need of the client, you have to do that activity. So this is about interventions. There is also another thing is couple counseling. So the basic objective of this couple counseling is helping the family members, helping the family members obtain an insight and resolve the family to understand the origin of conflicts, to understand the losses, uh, to understand the distorted projections, and reconstructing relationship, and promoting individual or family growth. This is the main goal of the family therapy. Family therapy is to concentrate on helping them, not to divide them, to strengthen the family, to build strong families. To strengthen the family is the goal of couple counseling in our culture. There are a lot of cultural factors has an impact. Family counseling. Here coming to us, coming to us, giving So giving more importance to based on our culture, what you have to do is you have to promote, you have to promote the family members to reduce the conflict, to have obtain more insight, and to obtain the conflicts as well as losses, and there are certain distorted projections, and reconstructing the relationship. Reconstructing the relationship is the goal of reconstructing the relationships is the goal of family counseling. For this, the skills required by a counselor is active listening, understanding, action, communication, and also use of genogram sometimes. Here, what you will do is you will focus more on the positive aspects of the both the members, both the couple. So, among the couple, each person has many negative conflicts and many differences with the other partner, but they also will have some of the positive things. Some of the positive things. You have to identify the positive things which are there in the other person, which are there in the other person, and also your counseling should focus on the strengths in each other, strengths and strengths of the each other partner, and also sometimes you can use this what is the solution focused therapy by envision of the future. This is most important in couple therapy. The solution focused therapy, as we are envisaging the future, emphasizing the future. If the parent, the wife or spouses, both the partners emphasize the future, if they are together, then what to do further? So what are the strengths you are having? With all these aspects, you can listen to them, understand them, and then you have to do the communication, action, and use of genogram. These are the things by which you can focus on couple counseling. We use the interventions like solution focused therapy or communication system. Most of the time, the communication is the main factor which is responsible for this couple conflicts. And whatever is the matter, you have to do. Solution focused therapy is being found as an effective technique for couple counseling at present. And this family unity should be focused by the client as an intervention. They are solution focused therapy as an intervention, or any other therapy which are useful for them depending upon the problem. Then you have to identify. Self-awareness is also important here. Both the couples should have self-awareness. Then the envision, all together we have to use as intervention. Self-awareness, they should understand about their activities, both of them, and then they will emphasize the future through solution focused intervention, and they can adapt. They can try to adapt themselves. So this is about couple counseling. We use a different intervention based on the problem and based on the client. Then coming to the family counseling and group counseling. So these are, you might be knowing about the family counseling. Family counseling is counseling the individual is one aspect. We are counseling the individual problems, individual challenges. This is individual counseling. Whereas family counseling means an individual is having a problem and which is creating a problem to the entire family, then the entire family counseling is being taken. So one of the person is an addict, alcoholic addict, one of the family members. Then the family counseling is being taken to bring about changes, and the goal of family counseling is to develop a harmony and strengthen the family relation, to develop the unity of the family, to strengthen the harmony of the family, and our focus is to help for the growth of the family, not the individual. Goal is for the entire family. So hence in family counseling, if there are communication issues, maybe power centers. Some of the family members are having the financial power, whereas some are having the. So you have to understand the family, the rapport building, not the individual. Rapport building here in the family counseling, you have to understand the entire family as a unit. Right. In family counseling, you have to understand the entire family as a unit, where the power is there, where the financial center is there, who is dominating in the family, what are the different roles played by different people in the family, so that you can understand the entire thing. Rapport will be regarding the entire family. So you have to understand the family first. Then you can understand where the problem lies. Where the problem lies, and then you have to address it, focusing, putting the goal as a family harmony and a family growth as a growth. So this is called as family counseling. So the problems will be because of multi-generational. In a family there are multi-generation people will be there. The problems arise because of that. Sometimes interpersonal relation, sometimes financial matters, but what not? Communication, power, finances, sharing of duties, whatever is that, sharing of duty roles, role dispute. This has become a common now in the modern families. Role disputes. What you have to do, what I have to do. So all these will come under family counseling, where all the family should be taken as a unit, and you have to understand the family, and then you have to do the family counseling. So this is about family counseling. So your interventions are given to all the family members to bring about change in the family environment. Family environment. So coming to the next thing about group counseling. We do group counseling. Counseling is a helping service, nothing more than that. Don't forget about that. Counseling is a helping service. Helping service. It is a helping service. Here, we use this group counseling. If a group of people are having the same problem, like alcoholic addiction. Group of alcoholic addicts are there, then you can do group counseling. A group of people with memory disorder, learning disabilities are there, learning problems or memory disabilities are there, then you can do group counseling. So group counseling is done when the group of people are having the same problem, same challenge. Like addiction, basically addiction group counseling is very useful. Addiction or some other the learning problems or memory problems are having the common issues, commonness in the challenge, commonness in the challenge. So what do they do? So because all the problems, all the members are group members are having the same challenge, the counselor introduce the members of that group to each other, and that is the ice breaking session is done in the beginning, and later on they will they pose some questions and make small groups and ask them to discuss among themselves regarding the problem issue, where the guidelines are being given to the group to adapt. So hence the group of people are having the common issue, and the leader is not a leader. The counselor takes the role of monitoring the activities of the entire group. Who is silent, who is sharing all this, he will monitor the entire group, and group themselves will come up with some solution to their issues. So usually in addiction counseling, they make like this. They will come up with that to have a better life, to improve their lifestyle. They have to come with the solution because everybody is having the same problem. Nothing to deceive, nothing to they can share all the problems themselves. Similarly, the problems of the same group of people. This is called as ice breaking will be there, group discussions will be taken there, taken the second step group discussion that will be initiated by the counselor, and they will give a direction to the group discussions, and they are asked to discuss among themselves about the problem, and they will come up with and they will reveal whatever the solutions they have identified, where the counselor suggest, coordinate all this, integrate all this, and suggest based on the realistic approach. What are the problems which they realistically follow? Realistic approaches should be chosen by the counselor. So like that, the group counseling is being done. So here also they use certain interventions to bring about modifications in the behaviors of the group. Modifications in the group behaviors. So you can see some of the groups are creating problems even in our daily life. The group counseling is being done, which helps to bring about modifications in the group activities, right? Then come to so there are different types of group counseling is being done. The first thing is T groups training. This is unstructured training given to many people is called as T group training. Then encounter group training. Encounter group training means for the personal growth and improvement of interpersonal relationship, we will do group counseling. This is called as encounter group training, means for personal growth. This is encounter group counseling is for person. Everybody wants, the group of people wants to develop in this area, so they will do this activity. So suppose stress management is the intervention which is being used for a group of people. This is for personal growth and improvement in. There are some other methods we can use for improvement in interpersonal relationships. Some other methods you can use in interpersonal relationships. And then task groups. So here in organization, a counseling is being given to task groups. They are focused on particular tasks. These are the groups, task groups they are called. They are being given counseling on the specific tasks. And there is also psychoeducation is also given to groups of people. Psychoeducation. And the guidance is also given to groups of people. Here the psychoeducation means, so skill development programs we do to group of people. Same group of people, because they have to skills needed for the group is, these are being practiced because why you are calling it as a counseling is instead of guidance, because we identified certain problems in that, because they are the problem areas, we are calling it as a counseling. Otherwise you can call it as group guidance. You might be knowing about guidance and counseling, the difference. Guidance is for all the people, normal people, towards development, towards betterment, for all. Counseling is for people who are having certain issues, challenges, and problems. Group counseling means all these group of people are having some challenge or problem. That's why we are not calling it as group guidance. Group counseling we are giving. So addiction group, addiction is their problem. So we are conducting group counseling. So like that, sometimes the skills are being needed, skills are lacking in some of the groups, lacking skills which are creating lot of problems. So, and the counseling is being done for groups. This is called as a group skill development groups. And also we do eclectic counseling also to problem groups. To problem groups we use eclectic counseling means mixing all the interventions of the different approaches. We mix and we use group counseling. But whatever is the group counseling, the group counselor has to lead the counseling activity. His group counselor has to lead the activity. He has to ice break the group, number one. Number two, he has to give some introduction and guide the group, direct the group, or he can make some of the small groups if the group is very big, and direct the group for interaction and discussion, and he has to monitor it time bound. He has to give some time and he has to monitor the actions of the group members, and then he has to terminate the counseling, and end part again he has to summarize it and then terminate the group counseling. So these are the things which they have to do in group counseling. So these interventions are being used in group counseling too. So there is also one more approach which you might be knowing about, the humanistic approach. This is in the humanistic approach, what you see is the humanistic approach. Human beings are free. Human beings are free in their thinking and they are responsible for their actions. The people, I am responsible for action. I am responsible whatever I am doing, not the other person. This is the humanistic approach. They said, my actions, my decisions, my choices are responsible for my status. Whether I know it or not, that is a different thing. So my choices and my action in particular situation is responsible what I am today. What I am today, who is responsible? I am responsible. I have taken this choice. I have taken this decision. This decision made me like this. You cannot blame others. So humanistic therapy says that uh, they are not the victims of circumstances, rather than they choose to be like that. They are not the victim. The humanistic psychologists never say you are the victim. No, your choices and your decisions and your choice made you like this. You are not the victim. You are the situation, circumstances are not responsible, but you have chosen this choice. So you are like this. Hence, the aim of this therapy is to encourage the client to reflect on their life, to recognize their range of alternatives. So we have to recognize the range of alternatives which are present and decide among them. Instead of choosing one or the other, you have to go through the range of alternatives and then you have to choose among them. So in this counseling, what they used to say is, because you are responsible for your life, you are responsible for your life. Hence, at present, don't look at the past, there are number of alternatives are there. Now you can choose among them and you can overcome your challenge. So this is the existential approach. Then coming to what are the future direction of this counseling? What is going to happen in future? What are the research which you are going to get in future regarding the counseling? counseling has become a very, very important area. The interventions means which are used to bring about changes, has become very, very important nowadays because of the social conditions existing. Because number one, the rapid changes are occurring in the society and people are not able to adjust, people are not able to adapt themselves to these changes, hence they are getting so many problems. Number one. Because it is a global society, it is a competitive society, lot of challenges are occurring. Whatever you are learning has become fast because of the fast changes in technological changes, in social changes, which are not able to adapt them. We have to learn every day. We don't know, hence there is a need for counseling. There is a need for counseling will be there because most of the people not able to adapt to the situations so rapidly. Of course, changes are the law of life, but still the changes are so rapid, we are not able to adapt, creating lot of problems which needs a counseling. Hence, the counseling has a big, big future. So, what are the things, what are the directions which you are going now? So, here the counseling new concepts, teaching and learning is one of the area which are very, very important nowadays in teaching. And we are talking about the cultural aspects and the race, culture, race, sex, and socio-economic factors have become very, very responsible in counseling. You have to keep it all in your mind always while counseling. You are, if you are counseling a Muslim woman or Muslim woman, if you are counseling a Western woman, or if you are counseling a rural woman, the culture changes. Socio-economic status brings about lot of changes in the ideology and the basic setup of the individual psyche. Hence, while counseling, you have to take into consideration about all these aspects. Sex, and you have to develop certain different theoretical procedures in this aspect and also procedures. These are very important. Different theories, there is a scope for different theories and procedures to evolve to understand, to address these counseling challenges. And then new every day new problems. Now we are getting the earlier it is AIDS. Now it is social media. Now the another time you may get corona. So new challenges are occurring. People are not able to adapt. So loss of employment, war, so many things are happening in the society where some people may not be able to, majority of the people may not be able to, which is not able to adapt, creating lot of problems. Hence there is a need for counseling in future. So what are the ethics are very important. Ethics are important. Just it is a professional course. Counseling ethics are very important. You have to focus more and you have to make a stringent rules about counseling ethics. Counseling ethics. So there must be one controlling body to address these counseling activities. Then psychoeducation should become a part of educational system. So the need of counseling reduces, need of counseling reduces. So psychoeducation has become a guidance aspect itself, and sometimes we need psychoeducation as a counseling intervention also we use that. So there is a lot of need for developing psychoeducation systems. Then coming to India. So counseling is what I can say that in very recent concept in India regarding mental health and counseling, and we don't have any governing body till now regarding counseling except the RCI, Rehabilitation Counseling of India, which is basically focused on disabilities, not on normal counseling, which is mostly focused on disability counseling. And we need a structured, organized setup for counseling in India. And this even for career guidance, also this counseling is also needed at present because of the emergence of new professions in the society. Many professions are being uh, emerging day by day. We don't know counseling, many professions are emerging. So in this scenario, even the one Calcutta University we are having, and there is a Central Bureau of Education and Vocational Guidance. This center is present in all the states. Central Bureau of Education and Vocational Guidance. And there is also for there are clinical setting and counseling, then we need an organized thing. It should be developed now for clinical purpose. And NIMHANS is NIMHANS, so many mental health projects are being taken. Now the government is focusing on that. You might be knowing about the government is also appointing mental health counselors, coordinators in all the districts and mandals. I hope and I think the need is more, and the government will also react to that. And there is a lot of research and scientific, there is a need for research and scientific development in the counseling area. And there is also in future, now it is already started, in future there is a need for e-counseling. E-counseling means online counseling and tele-counseling. Already the government has started tele-counseling in some of the districts, around 300 districts in India. And tele-counseling is being identified as a very effective thing, more than what they are selling in last year. I think there are more than 3 lakh cases are being uh, 3 lakh people have approached these telecounseling centers. It is 24 hours service, and many of the people are students are working here 24 hours. And now we are getting Mandal counseling coordinators also. It is and there is also virtual counseling is also being given by some of the counselors. And there are now the research is on developing apps, research apps. Research apps are being developed to counsel. And many apps, as on today also, some of the apps are being developed for counseling. So this is the future, will be telecounseling, will be more, and people are telling also we can overcome the stigma through telecounseling and virtual counseling. And also the apps are helping for self knowledge and self assessment. So there is a great need in developing e-counseling also in future. So this is about all about the interventions we are using. In a nutshell, psychoanalytical theory, interpersonal theory, children, for all these, what are the counseling aspects we have to do, what are the interventions you have to do. Insight has become the important thing. In psychoanalysis, we use dream analysis and defense mechanism. More insight into the underlying conflicts. Insight. So to bringing their insight is about the awareness, self-awareness. Insight means self-awareness. Even the humanistic psychology focused on self-awareness of our motives and needs. If you know our motives and needs, you can direct our goals towards them. So this humanistic psychology helps us to know our motives and goals. And whereas individual phenomenological psychology, which is focused on illogical expectations of the individual. So, if our illogical expectations are responsible for our problems, so address that. So, like that, each one of them has focused on one of the aspects as a causative factor for this problem, and based on this, they have developed their interventions. And this is the conclusion. Each of the center has focused on one of the aspects as the causative factor for their problem, and they have developed their own techniques, own interventions for addressing this problem. So among all these, The eclectic counseling has taken a best counseling technique where we can use all the technique. If you had a overall view and all the techniques are in your sight, you can use the appropriate intervention technique based on the client, and the client sex culture, taking into consideration all this, you have to use the appropriate technique. That is the skill of the counselor. That is the skill of the counselor. So thank you very much. This is about all about interventions. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Some of the you can interact and you can say some of the doubts. Yes. And you can unmute yourself and you can ask your doubt. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am, is the
Yes.
session over? Yes, if the students, if you have any clarifications, you may please ask, ma'am. Are all of you online? Praveena, Deepika, Sheikh Mohammed Wali, Priya Paul, Prashant, DV Narayana. Please respond. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't think
Thank
they
you.
are online.
Thank you, madam.
Please unmute your cameras. Ma'am has spent 2 hours giving a detailed explanation on the different approaches of counseling and application of these therapies. I would like to see all of you are online and listening to what ma'am was saying.
Hope so. Let us hope so.
Let us hope so. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. See, none of them have unmuted their mics at least, leave alone the cameras.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Praveena. Thank you so
Oh,
much for your valuable insights for us. It's a very useful session for us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Good.
at least
That is
one
what.
has responded.
Yes, yes. Good, good.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for
Yes, yes.
sparing your time.
Thank you.
And it was an exhaustive session, I suppose, 2 hours at a stretch. Uh, Hope it was useful to all the students. Tomorrow we'll be meeting again at the same time, that is from 3 p.m. in the evening. Ma'am will be leading the session on MPCE-046, which is positive psychology. Let
Yeah.
us meet tomorrow afternoon, sharp at 3 p.m. Thank you,
So
ma'am.
thank you, DV Narayana and Sheikh. What they put some message.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you.